Well, there's just a few rounds remaining in the FSS SMX Series Season number 2 in 2025. And after 11 rounds, we just have 4 more to go. It's round 12 this time at Circuit of the Americas. And with a little bit of a refresh here for 2025, where things are going to look a little bit different, we're also running the short configuration. A bit of a change from what might have been expected with a short cut through that NASCAR used earlier last year. So different config, the first time that this series has ever been here at COTA. There's so much to discuss. The points are starting to close up a little bit from second back on to fifth, but Camden Hibbett maintains a pretty sizable lead. Kyle Heyer joined by Finian DeCuna tonight as Greg is still out. We hope to have him back. Just chatted with him a little bit today. We'll have him back here shortly, but Finian joins me once again. Finian, we're off at COTA. It finally got a visual refresh that we've been waiting for. It looks spectacular, but we're also on this short course, which is going to change the dynamics a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. And, we typically look at these, amazing rigs facilities across the U.S. All these tracks typically have those longer straightaways, and we definitely have the long straightaway heading up into the giant hill into turn 1, Big Red as they call it. And that's going to be a major passing opportunity, but we lose out on the major straightaway on the back stretch. So it becomes less of a draft track, and it has a little bit more flow in a way. It's a much more of a rhythm section, especially as you work your way through the S's, and then the shortcut heading back onto the back straightaway, what's left of it, much shorter version of it. So definitely going to change the way these drivers are going to race. Going to see probably a little bit less slipstreaming and just more focus on making sure you nail your corners, nail your apexes.
Yeah, watch it on board here with Carson Neal as he navigates the S's. This is this new section we're talking about. You can use a lot of the road here, but right here you got to take this left instead of sweeping around to turn 8 and 9. You take this hard left, you cut through it, it dumps you basically back out onto the backstretch where you have a pretty short run off to what is turn number 12 on the normal course. And we'll continue to name the numbers as they normally are, but also note that how much racetrack they're using. That outer white line, I believe, is their track limit here, Finian, but you can probably talk more specifically about what iRacing has marked off.
Yeah, and in terms to that, really they only marked off stuff in the S's. Everywhere else around this track is fair game. According to iRacing, I don't know how the series is going to be handling that, but the main thing is you got to keep two tires on the red and white curbing at all times in the S's. Everywhere else, you can go out to the parking lot if you so wish.
And that's what Beans Forster just did right there. So that's in qualifying, mind you. So again, this is going to be kind of fun to watch as drivers explore the limits of the racetrack. Beans Forster is the fastest on course right now. Here's Camden Hibbett, who we're going to ride on board with again tonight, the championship leader by 70 points over Beans Forster. Morgan Burkhardt, though, up 2 spots after sweeping last round at Barber, and he is nowhere to be found right now on the leaderboard because he has yet to put in a lap time here. He is really close to that wall through that cut through.
Yeah, and I have a feeling we're going to see someone hit that wall before it's all said and done. It's a very fast exit out of that little shortcut. And the thing to mention, too, is you kind of alluded to it before. This is not the normal West variant of COTA that we've typically seen in iRacing since it was released back in 2013. It's the NASCAR West version, wherein you might be wondering, well, what's the difference? Well, the main difference, and actually the reason they shifted to the section, as you'll see right here in the S's, is that the anti-cut curbing was removed, as to imagine that would tear up a stock car if it even so much as sniffed it. So they removed that because it was causing a lot of issues for some of the drivers, and they figured for racing it'll be a little bit more better to run without it. And then also you got this hairpin that's typically not there in the West. You typically make a little bit of a more gentle left turn versus a much heavier braking zone here. We could see some passes and some interesting things happen there.
You see that other short cut through, that's the normal West configuration that has an additional chicane as well. So we won't be using that. We're on the NASCAR config tonight, and you mentioned the lack of anti-cut curbs. I'm pretty sure those curbs will tear up anything that drives over them, let alone a stock car. So I don't think that we'll have much concern with underbelly damage tonight, but I think track limits and how you race around them is going to be sort of the topic of discussion as Morgan Burkhardt puts in a time worthy of second place on the leaderboard.
Wow.
So
not just second place, he's actually on your timing screen it's showing tied. To me, it's showing him 1,000th of a second off. So he's second place by a fraction of a second.
Yeah, that is really, really tight. And as far as lap times here, it's still a pretty reasonable length of a lap time. We're looking at about 1 minute and 50 seconds, which isn't necessarily short. So you don't have a ton of opportunities to qualify, nor will you have a ton of opportunities to get things done at a particular corner in a race. So there's Austin Duran, the 152 relative new driver, and Colby Jackson. I don't know that we've seen this name before. We have not this season at the very least. So a driver making his first run here in this series in what is likely to be a pretty exciting night.
absolutely. See what he can do as far as where he is on the timing screen. So far, 5th place, and about 0.8 of a second off pole time, and a couple tenths behind the next driver in 28th. William Van Solkema, if I'm saying that correctly, in the 28. I don't know if I've seen him before in the series.
Yeah, he's been made a couple starts this season, and so far, let's see where he has landed is in the points. He's actually P13, and basically, I don't run every event, but most of them, starting back at Road America in September, and has basically run everything since then. So good to have him back. And he has been slowly climbing his way up the order, going back to his results. His first events, 19th, 28th, then 2 top 10s at Sonoma, then a top 5 at Summit Point, and a couple more top 10s along the way. Was 13th and 12th last time out at Barber, but P4 right now in qualifying. So absolutely everyone's taking note here as Camden Hibbett just knocked Forster off for a moment, but then Burkhardt takes it right back.
And actually, interesting thing we want to note out as well, as I noted Burkhardt coming to the start-finish line, is that at the start-finish line, typically what you see at a lot of F1 tracks is the finish lines before the grid lines, and actually in this case it's going to be a little bit further down where the actual start line is. So something to note, they got a little bit more straightaway to play with, and that could mean maybe see a different outcome out of the corner. I don't know if you can really build up that much of a slipstream, but hey, we've seen crazier things happen.
Yeah, again, you're coming out of such a slow corner out of turn 20 that, I think you're right about the point about the slipstream. I don't know that you'll have enough time to really generate a big one, but it could help. Another driver that is piqued my interest here is Greg Rogers. That's another new name for us tonight. So maybe Circuit of the Americas piquing the interest of a couple drivers and willing to give Full Send Sims SMX a shot. And as far as the rest of the season goes, we've got a pretty interesting schedule upcoming here. So tonight we're, of course, at Circuit of the Americas West. We head to Sebring Full Course, about the most standard of racetracks as far as they come in this series. Then we go to the Chicago Street Course and then Mount Panorama Bathurst to finish off the season. So that's pretty wild.
I forgot that's the finale. I remember that was announced as the track that was to be picked. I didn't realize that was going to be the finale. Boy, what a finale to have.
Yeah, I mean, it's Greg and I got to decide that, and we went through a couple options, and we decided what would be the wildest and create the most interest, and Mount Panorama seemed like a pretty good fit. Here's Carson Neal up to 2nd place in his qualifying run. Pretty happy with that, I'd imagine. Normally we have him on video as well, but not tonight. Maybe he'll join a little later.
Working his way heading into the hairpin.
I do like how the lack of anti-cut curbs really widens the line through here. You can't cut them, but it does give you a little bit more leeway to use the curbing and things. You don't have to feel like you're going to get spiked off into orbit if you get the line a little wrong.
Yeah, and that's the thing, especially with these cars, because they're not as darty as what you would see in IndyCar or Formula One. You can't just turn them on a dime. So that precision, you don't necessarily need a lot of that precision. But you do definitely need to nail it. You need to get that flow going through the section. Otherwise, you're going to throw yourself off and lose a lot of time in the process.
Carson working his way through the stadium section. A little grass added there as well. Driver's right turn 14. That was an addition that they made in the middle of last year and helps prevent corner cutting. Although I'm not sure how much that'll matter for the rest of the course.
And actually, as he heads into the final series of turns and through the right-hand sweeper, he's actually up a couple tenths if the timing is to be correct. He might snatch pole away from Burkhardt here.
Big jump over turn 19. That corner really widens out with the
nail that final corner though.
Yeah, they do. Maybe miss the apex a little bit, but runs out wide across the stripe here. Let's see what he can record.
Long run to start-finish line. He's looking to be 3 to 4 tenths up.
Oh,
will it stick?
Oh, he got second, but just closes in within 15 thousandths of Burkhardt, a 150.486 to a 150.471.
He's very, very close. He'll continue on one more run, which is pretty much all he's going to get, because as soon as the timer hits 0, qualifying will be over.
Yeah, I'm curious to
see the final run for him.
If he can dig out a little bit more. It's probably be pretty tough. You're putting a lot of load in the tires on this racetrack. Although track temps are relatively cool. 79 air, 84 track. That's pretty reasonable. But you're doing a lot of side-to-side sliding in those high-speed S's. Not a lot of aero to lean on here. And with that, you put a lot of energy in the tires. Might mean that you only get 1 or 2 or 3 good laps before you have to tap out.
Burkhart and Neal both on the racetrack at the moment. Burkhart looking down on his personal best and actually just hit the wall. So he's effectively going to be done. Carson Neal still has a chance to take pole away. Doesn't look like he's got any competition from behind. Camden Hibbett's call it a session. So is Forrester. Newell not on a quicker lap. So all eyes on the 141 if he can snatch pole away here. So far, so good. He's a little bit up on that previous lap. The big question is it going to be 15,000 of a second worth? And I would almost argue yes, because you basically breathe wrong and you'll get 15,000 of a second.
Oh, man, that was, you see how much racetrack he used there on the entry to 19?
Might have gone a little too wide.
Woo. He's still up in the green, if my numbers are to be believed, but I think he lost it there a little bit in turn 20. So... worth the effort.
We'll see. It's going to be close. Cross the line in 3, 2, 1.
No, 668 on the 10th.
Yeah, I think like you said, that's what killed it up, and the explosion to seal the deal for his qualifying efforts.
All right, qualifying is complete, and while we've got a couple of moments here before we head down to the racetrack and get rolling for the first of 2 20-minute races, we'd like to take a moment to thank the partners and people that make this happen. Of course, Full Send Sims and Court Schmidt. They build custom racing simulators. Court has a background in building military simulators, and he'll rub all that experience up into building a custom simulator solution for you. They've got a showroom in Florida where you can kind of see all of it, but really, really neat stuff, and a big thanks to Court for putting all of this on. 3P Logistics and Frank Rodriguez and their premium trackside support have been a supporter of FSS SMX since the beginning, along with Final Turn Motorsports as well. Bring in FARA, a motorsports organization based in the Southeast, but they have been expanding out even into the Midwest. They've got a great kind of deal where you don't pay to access the facility, you just pay for parking, and everything else is free as a spectator. Of course, Sabelt, one of our newest partners coming on board. Great safety solutions, Wine Country Motorsports, race gear and equipment, and they will be willing to answer the phone when their online retailer equivalent will not. So Wine Country Motorsports, thanks to their support. And again, weather as the racing approaches here. 85-degree track temp here, Finian. But turn 1, Big Red, you called it. It's chaos every time.
It is usually chaos every single time, but we got a really solid group of drivers. Definitely one thing that they're going to be loving is that track temp, 85 degrees. That's pretty much as cold as you're going to get it. Mostly cloudy conditions, so it's pretty much going to stay like that for most of the session. So we'll see what these guys can do with that extra grip into turn 1. That's going to be your biggest passing opportunity, especially on the opening lap. There's a lot of racetrack to use, and we've seen in practice and qualifying these drivers use every little bit of racetrack. So we'll see they will play nice with that.
All right, so with that, we'll head down to the racetrack and get the grid underway. Let's roll through our starting lineup, and we'll kick things off with row number 1. It's Morgan Burkhart in the number 67. Carson Neal rolls off in second place in the number 141. Then Camden Hibbitt, points leader, and Beans Forster, championship runner-up as it stands. He'll start in fourth place. Then it's James Newell and Hayden Manis sharing row number 3. William Venzel Kemma and Colby Jackson start 7th and 8th, with Austin Duran and Dylan Lee finishing 9th and 10th.
Yeah, moving on back to 11, Nate Himmelsbach. We line him at the 43 and 11th. Deacon Greenfield next to him in 12th. Then Jim Freidhofer lined up 13th and 89 with Bob Mueller Jr. in the 60 and 14th. Arif Aziz in the 212 and 15th with Wayne Buttermore next to him in 16th. Seth Spool in lineup in 17th with Greg Rogers next to him in 18th. And rounding out our field of 20 will be Trace Hansen in the 53 and 19th with Sawyer Richards in the 125 lineup in 20th.
So there's your starting lineup here as we, I was clicking the wrong next page button, there we go. As we get ready to go racing here, cloudy skies, Morgan Burkhart up 2 spots in the championship standings at Barber, swept that event last week and is in a great position to do it again, but can he outlast the chaos that can be all the runoff here at Circuit of the Americas? All right, predictions here, Finian. How much off track are we going to see on lap 1?
Yes, is my answer to that question. Yes, all of it. I mean, these drivers, again, they have that extra racetrack to work with. If you can avoid a wreck or maybe gain some advantage, they're probably going to do so. So we'll see, especially heading on the exit of turn 1.
All right, so safety car pulls off. Morgan Burkhardt is in command of the field. Carson Neal to his outside. Then the front runners in the championship start in row number 2. Here we go, waiting for the green flag to fly. FSS SMX Season 2, Round 12, Race 1. Green flag, and we're underway at Circuit of the Americas already. Seth Spullman popping out of line. They're 3 abreast at the back of the field, and here comes Hayden Manis up the outside. We're going to be 3 wide into turn 1 easy.
4 wide into turn 1 easy. Here they go into the braking zone. Everyone fanning out, trying to make a move. Trying to find what racetrack's available, and look at them all go off the track. I think it's about 5 people actually stay within the racing lines as they head into the S's for the first time.
And Neal comes out on top. There's gravel everywhere at turn 2. Not exactly sure what that's from, but into the S's for the first time here. You can't cut the course, and this is one of the few areas that is heavily enforced by iRacing.
Being sideways drifting as he's lacking the grip on some cold tires, was able to save it. Still on to third.
Yeah, grabs third. Manis past Hibbett, though. Contact and crash. It's Friedhofer in the background. And I think he actually stayed out of the fence, but Beans Forster has a slowdown, and he is serving that now.
And I wonder if that was from him ditching out to avoid spinning out in the S's. I think that was. So he's going to have to pay the price for that. At least the car is still in one piece. And meanwhile, up at the front, Neal and Burkhardt going at it for the lead.
Yeah, Burkhardt got the lead back from Neal, and all the while Hibbett and Manis are scrapping for second place here. Not a significant draft at this racetrack, so I think Burkhardt can have the opportunity to drive away like the days of old in this championship. He gets cut in the gravel. And Vansel Kema's around at 15, and Deacon Greenfield caught up in that too.
Contact there. A very slow section here. We typically see some drivers get a little bit too much on the binders or a big dive like that. Off and around they went.
Yeah, nothing that Deacon did wrong there, but the 28 bounced off of, I think that was the 23 of Forster that he hit the door of. So lap 1 complete.
You see them all using the runoff there off the final turn. And we have seen, though, there is a bit of a limit to that. We saw Carson Neal had a chance getting pulled as well. Hibbett, I think, obtained a slowdown at some point.
Yep, and that's really going to be the thing is who can find the limits the best and avoid the slowdowns. You know, maybe this is a good one for Greg to set out. I know he is very passionate about track limits, and this one would probably not be good for our friend Greg tonight. So, yeah. Burkhardt, though, especially here, I actually haven't driven this layout to understand really where the slowdown limits are, or if they have any on corner exits or things like that that could, you know, play into, you know, invisible boundaries that you have to stay within. But
yeah, from what I can see, and again, according to the rules, the little rules tab they have in the new UI, the only ones the rule is through the S's. Everywhere else is essentially fair game for how far off the track can go. Bob Mueller Jr. had an issue, reset to the pits. He had a little bit of a.
Oh, he had contact. That right front is collapsed, and it.
Oh, you know what? Before that he hit the wall, and that's concrete wall. Yeah, through that little shortcut.
Here's a look at
right here
it.
as it makes a left-hander.
Oh, yep. Bam.
Right there.
Reminds me of the original config of the Nashville Street Course when everyone seemed like they were hitting walls everywhere, at least in the GT stuff that I was doing those days. But here's Hibbett back to 7th now. This is not a good start for him. That slowdown really has held him up. Dylan Lee is pressuring him now for 7th place.
Yeah, trying to see if he can break away and set his sights ahead on Beans Forster. And with the way these guys are actually driving the second to last corner, they have to swerve back over left and then straighten themselves out before they get back on the brakes. Ooh, we got a spin.
Tariq Aziz, and contact with Seth Spullman sent them for a ride. That's what the runoff is for, stopping collisions from reaching the wall. It's Trace Hansen, Greg Rogers. This is up at turn 1. Big Red, Trace Hansen, the blue and orange to the inside, and easily takes that spot. Rogers, I thought, would try to cross him up, but didn't quite get that opportunity.
Yeah, Greg actually letting Trace Hansen by, so being a little bit of a nice guy. So Hansen will move up. He's actually moved up a lot of spots. He's up from 19th up 8 spots to 11th, and is the biggest mover of the race so far.
Yeah, Rogers is up from 18th spot up to 12th, so both these drivers have made pretty significant climbs. Colby Jackson and Beans Forster trade for position there. Beans is back up to 5th. Camden still stuck in 7th, and Burkhardt leads by 1 second. So again, you're not going to have the draft situation holding everyone tight together here. Colby is now just lost a spot here to Hibbett.
It looks like he's trying to be nice to Beans and figured that he let him on by because he was a faster car, but then Hibbett took advantage of that, and now Dylan Lee and Austin Duran are also trying to take advantage of that as they're side by side and behind.
Yeah, Lee and Duran tucking in here. Turn 15. That was my least favorite hit turn in the history of motorsports, and I think having a little more runoff there that you can actually use probably isn't a bad thing.
These guys are loving the extra runoff they're able to use as the sun starts to peek out a little bit from behind the clouds.
Yeah, see if that makes the track temperature go up. I have a feeling that regardless, the tire temperature, managing tires in those faster sections will be something to worry about. Nate Himmelsbach is slow at the carousel.
Yeah. I'm not sure what's going on with him. I thought he had a slowdown because he was running a little bit slow. I'm not sure if he's blown an engine or something gone horribly wrong for him, but trying to limp back to the pits, it seems, as we look further up the order. And
whoa! Dylan Lee on Colby Jackson. That was close.
That was very close. Probably the camera angle made it look almost worse than it was, but he got awfully close. Thought about it, but decided not to make the move. As came to him, he goes a little bit defensive up there as they head through the S's. So Beans Forcer back up to 5th after we saw his trying to recover from what happened on the opening lap, and Hibbett. Similar story there with both of them yielding to cutting the track. And those slowdowns will really, really kill you, especially in these shorter races.
It's like Martinsville, right? Like the slowdowns are akin to being stuck in the outside lane. If you get one, you drop 5-10 spots, but it's really hard to claw positions back. So you're sort of, held to your feet to the fire a little bit. You can't make a mistake. Or, Camden Hibbett, look where he is now, P6. After one slowdown, put him back a couple of laps ago. So that's really a challenge that they'll have to navigate. Burkhardt is leading and is pulling away by about 0.3 a lap.
As I was talking about, it's seeing a little bit less of the slipstreaming, especially losing the giant back straightaway where we see a lot of that. So again, very focused on making sure you can hit your corners, hit your apex, and that's why we're able to see Burkhardt actually etch out a little bit of a lead, especially to at least the last round I was with you at Homestead, where it was very much a slipstream track.
Yeah, here's Austin Duran chasing Dylan Lee. Ooh, it looks like IndyCar back in, what was that, 2019?
Yeah.
Using all the road.
I remember everyone complaining about, why is IndyCar allowed to use all this?
Yeah. Go back and watch the MX5 Cup races from those weekends. They were crazy.
Oh, yeah. Force are almost in the grass.
Yeah,
a couple drivers actually
straddling that paint just to widen the track a little bit, as if the track being 100 feet wide wasn't wide enough. Carry a little more speed.
Yeah, Greg would really not be a fan.
I think they're just making the track about a quarter mile longer by running these super wide lines. But yeah, I mean, again, I didn't really understand what the permutations of changing to this layout would be, but iRacing again had moved to sort of a method of enforcing track limits by track layout. Similar story with Watkins Glen now, where the boot has tighter confines than the Cup configuration. I'm in support of this as a concept. I think in practice, it would be nicer if they had drop downs to select track limits, and drop downs to select the size of the curbs and things. But
they probably asked for something that won't appear for at never. The soonest 10 to 15 years from now.
Well, one can dream. I asked for 3D curbs and it took 6, but we finally did get them. So
I will say the one thing with them having used as runoff, I'm very intrigued by how creative some drivers are getting and the different, because it is a little bit of a unknown for a lot of these drivers. How far can they push it? How much is the fastest line? To how far do you run off? Because you don't want to use every single inter-racetrack, as we've seen.
It turns into its own kind of mini game, right? It's like it's how far is too far. It's the speed versus distance calculation, and you're trying out a whole bunch of different permutations in real time. For Carson Neal, though, I can't quite put my finger on how, But he is starting to reel in Morgan Burkhardt slightly here. And I don't know if this is Burkhardt trying to toy with Neal and Manis and kind of dangle the carrot here, but the gap is closing a little.
That would be evil if he was actually doing that. Here, you can catch up to me a little bit. I'm still going to win this race.
Oh, Morgan Burkhardt is a smart kid. He knows what he's doing. And, you know, as I've said in the past, he's really good at driving other people's cars. So if he can make Carson push a little bit, burn the tires off a little, and then just sprint away. Morgan said his goal is just to make Camden Hibbett's life as miserable as possible for the rest of the season and gain 2 positions in the points. I know he's still down 71 from Camden, but he's run 6 fewer races.
Yeah, well, this is definitely not good for the championship picture. Maybe not as much as Burkhardt would like, but definitely going in the right direction. His 2 main competitors are currently a couple positions back, and Beans Forster, I thought he would catch up to Newell a little bit quicker, but they ran almost, I don't know, actually, no, Beans Forster did catch up quite a bit to Newell last lap through, but I think Newell had a exceptionally poor lap last time, so he's still able to hold on to 4th, but as the laps wind down, we'll see if he can hang on in that 4th place, or will Beans and Hibbett get into it. And that's another thing, too, if Beans Forster and Camden Hibbett get into each other, that could slow them both down.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that they're really going to get very far. They've got James Newell ahead of them, and James is really quick in his own right. None of them are really lapping significantly faster than the 3 leaders anyway, so this might be sort of what we've got to play with. And this is going to really exacerbate the aggression on the start of race 2, knowing now that once things kind of filter out, you're not going to draft up to the leader. We didn't really know what we were going to get. I think I probably could have expected something similar to this, but you know, every time you go to a new racetrack, there's always things to learn.
Look at the leaders. The previous lap, Neal made about 2/10 on the inroads to Burkhardt. This time, Bai actually lost 4/10, so Burkhardt plus 2/10 through the last 2 laps. So it extends out once more. I think that's exactly what he wants to see in that 67 machine. Take a look at Neal. Completely focused on his apex, and look at that concentration.
Yeah, I love the gentle head rock left to right to get the car to turn a little bit better. And as you know, Finian, absolutely that works.
At least feels like they're going faster.
Yes, and that, hey, perception is reality often. So, but Carson has been stuck in second this whole time. Had the lead for about half a lap in the beginning stages of the race. So James Newell facing some pressure now, though, from Forster and Hibbett.
Forster, poor line though, trying to make the attack. Here comes Hibbett now, closed in quite a bit, and a bit of a dive. That was almost a bit too opportunistic, got to back out of it.
Yeah, again, for Hibbett, I think, you know, who's he battling? Is he battling Burkhardt or is he battling Beans? The points tell you that it's both, because Beans and Morgan are only separated by 1 point. But he's got to pass Beans to start putting pressure on Burkhardt. I just don't know how likely that is in this race. So it's almost like battling for the starting position of race 2. Sawyer Richards and Deacon Greenfield. Hasn't been a great race for Deacon. Got tangled up in an incident early on and just trying to recover, running 13th after starting in 12th. And has Sawyer Richards just trying to dig back on the inside.
It's a really tough section to go side by side through. You got to really have some coordination with the other driver. Just wasn't able to make the pass. Tries to have a look here, but can't quite get it done. And have to wait for the next opportunity to present itself. And actually, as we were talking about Neal catching Burkhardt, Manis has caught up to Neal.
Yeah, he has.
And actually, the last lap, Carson Neal's really starting to fall off the pace. And you talked about earlier about Burkhardt trying to drive other people's cars, make him push a little bit too hard. And I think Neal has pushed a little bit too hard.
Yeah, Morgan's a smart cookie. And again, I can't make him look like an evil genius, but he's not. I don't know if he's evil, but he is a genius. So he is figuring out some things and over the years. And again, he runs in the Michelin Pilot Challenge Series.
Big dive. Camden Hibbett to the inside of Forster in the hairpin.
Ooh, boy. Didn't work, but worth a shot, I suppose. Let's go back and watch that again. That looked cool.
That's a sketchy place to make a move.
Oh, man, what a lunge. Oh, and he almost got the wall on the exit, too. That was cool.
Things not necessarily built like tanks. Definitely have to be careful. We're seeing how one driver ended up in the wall as they go side by side once again.
Yeah, he's going to be on the
This
outside.
section.
Cuts under to 15. Beautifully done there, and he'll have this spot. Beans will cross him over, but next three corners are prevailingly right-handers, so that should give the spot to Hibbett.
Beans trying to set up a little bit of a better run, wider on the entry to have a tighter line here. Bit of a run as you look further back. Here is Colby Jackson, Austin Duran, battle for 8th place between them. Whoa, a little bit of grass there for Colby Jackson.
Yeah, man, watch the outside, cuts under. This is going to be fun for Colby. First event with FSS and just throwing haymakers at Duran here. Duran breaks early, tries to maximize the exit. I've never had luck, diamonding that exit like that. Here's Manis on deal. This is for 2nd place now.
Manis able to make the move. Big dive into turn 1. Might have dived a little bit too hard. Goes out wide. Loses all momentum. And Neil is back in front in 2nd place.
So Neil has P2 for now.
Read that beautifully by Carson Neil.
Yeah, Richards and Greenfield still going back at it here. 4 minutes to go in this race. That should be 2 to go next time by.
Laps are winding down. You can see the patience is also slowly winding down for some of these drivers. A lot of big dives as they have the last few laps of this race.
Yeah, we're just watching Burkhardt continue to grow this gap. Another perfect round really puts him in major contention with Hibbett. And then the slugfest is really going to start. I don't know that we've really seen the Hibbett versus Burkhardt battle as fiercely this year as we have in seasons past, but it's mostly because they haven't really been around each other as much. But with Morgan quickly encroaching, I think Morgan makes Camden a better driver and vice versa when they're together on course, but Camden hasn't really had to defeat Morgan that much as of late. They haven't been near each other, and this race is no exception. If he wants to hold on to this championship lead, he's going to have to get those elbows out.
See how that plays out. Yeah, he's got Camden Hibbett working on the back of James Newell, so he's got to worry about the defense, keeping Beans Forrester at bay. He was a little bit further behind, and now trying to focus on the attack to see if he can get up to 4th place, and that'll help him. Just a couple more points going his way to make sure that Burkhardt doesn't encroach into his championship lead.
Here comes Hibbett. Will he poke up the inside at 1? Yeah, looks like it. And
can he secure it? That's really going to be the big question, because that run off the corner is massive. And there goes Newell with the big run. To the inside he will go and secure that spot. Here comes Bean Forrester now back in this battle. Effectively a 3-way battle for 4th.
Yeah, we're right on board here with Beans while he watches these two scrap ahead of him here. He's going to make up big ground on Hibbett and Newell while they fight. Just got to get ahead of the steering here a little bit. He's had a tire in the grass there on the right. Nice big run, but now you just have to kind of sit on it here through this next little kink.
Yeah, you got to focus on building up that run, and now you have some racetrack to work with. Who's going to be brave enough to make the dive to the inside? It'll be Hibbett to the inside of Newell.
Yeah, but back to turn 13. Newell can keep the foot in it, and back to driver's right. This is why I love this section. It's tedious to drive, but it's really fun to race. Now Beans is going to throw his hat in there. Maybe give Newell a push.
Saw the opening on the right-hand side of the racetrack. Didn't make anything of it. Hibbett trying to go and push Newell out of line. Can he get him on the exit? He will. And here comes Beans Forrester now trying to take advantage. Maybe see if he can set up a run here on Newell.
Newell back to the inside here. Going to use that shorter lane. Hibbett's going to roll the outside momentum and carry better speed. He'll keep the spot. Here comes now Beans Forrester to the inside at turn 19.
Bit of a tap between Forrester and Newell. Off the racetrack they will go, and Newell's actually going to back out of it. Beans forcing him to jump on the brakes, and now both of them up 1 spot. Hibbett to 4th, Forrester to 5th, and that battle will continue onwards, but Newell not completely out of it just yet.
No, white flag is out though. Last lap here in race number 1, and we'll go back to that 3-car race for 4th place. Hibbett, Beans, then Newell. Newell up the inside late on both of them as he's going to get 1 and then maybe 2. Oh, he's going to get centered in contact.
Oh, and that slowed him down a lot, and that's great news for Hibbett as he's going to check off now. And there here comes Beans Forrester back with the run on Newell. Let's take a look and see what happened.
Yeah, right here. Newell kind of doesn't track out with the trajectory that he was taking. So Beans used all the road, assuming that he'd run off the racetrack, and they just kind of clattered together there, clattered the T. Well, they're going to have to deal with each other for the next half a lap.
I mean, typically you expect, especially with the way we're running the track limits, you expect the driver to run out there, but Newell's actually running the typical line where you stop on the curbs. But this battle's far from over yet. Beans Forrester now just a matter of getting a decent run here. Might be able to pop out when Newell's not expecting it.
And trying to over-under here into 15. Big lunge. I don't know if he's have the momentum to keep it. Morgan Burkhardt
better for him than I thought.
Out in front. This will be an easy win for him, but Neal and Manis still have something to sort out, and so do Newell and Forster. We'll follow these back to the battle. It's Manis in third, Neal in second right now.
And Manis has got one last attempt here, heading to the final turn, not quite able to get back there. Meanwhile, back in behind them, Newell and Forster in the final turn.
Yeah, Newell kept the spot. Forster's going to build a run here. This will be that run to the stripe that we talked about. I don't know that there's enough time for Beans to get there or to build a draft, so it looks like James Newell will hang on to fifth, but just as they cross the stripe, then it's going to be Lee, Duran, Hance, and Jackson that should come across in P10. And race one complete.
Race one complete with Morgan Burkhardt taking the win by 5.5 seconds over Carson Neal.
Let's have a look here at the race results. Yeah, 5.5, and then little pockets of excitement from there on back. And Circuit of the Americas, I'm a big fan of it as far as racetracks are concerned. I'm a big fan of the full course layout myself, Finian, but this West configuration does offer a couple fun, exciting moments with those dives up into that shortcut section.
It definitely breaks it up, and it really shows the driver's skills at play, especially when it comes to tire saving, which we talked about a little bit, but we saw Carson Neal push hard early on, couldn't quite keep up with the pace of Morgan Burkhardt near the end, fell off a little bit. Aiden Manis gave it his all, but also didn't quite have enough to make the overtake near the end of the race. But solid job by everyone in the top five, top six.
Yeah, really nicely done there. And then looking down the rest of the order, I think we're going to lose our results. There's a quick look at 11 through 20. And Nate Himmelsbach at the end of that is the last finisher. A couple minutes here to kind of digest our meal here and get ready for the second of our two races tonight. Morgan Burkhardt out in front by a comfortable margin. More coming up just after this short break. We'll be back with race number 2 of round 12 of the Full Send Sims SMX Series. But before we cut away to that break, we'll tell you about a couple other things that are happening here in the next little bit. We've got our next and our final Racecraft Academy on the 26th of November. That will be at the Chicago Street Course, and that will be the last Racecraft Academy for the season, with the finale taking place at Mount Panorama on December 2nd after we head to Chicago Street Course the week prior. That'll do it for now. We'll be back in just a few minutes with more FSS SMX.
Simulation will never replace real-world racing, and I don't want it to.
Full Send Sims provides custom-built, top-notch simulators from whatever your budget is. We want to find the best fit for you.
We build rigs for pro drivers where we go and measure their cars, every measurement one-to-one down to the millimeter. You can drive these sims and certify basically to race a car in the real world. Matter of fact, this weekend we have 2 guys that work with FSS that have strictly been sim racing for the last 5 years.
Absolutely did not think a year ago I'd be driving a race car this weekend. However, getting into the simulator, I think it really helped me get on the track and stay competitive.
I've been a sim racing instructor for about 2 years now. The benefit of working with me as a race coach, I'll get you to be a better driver, a lot faster, with a lot less mistakes than you could doing it on your own.
We take the sim building and the sim training as serious as possible. It's not a video game, it's a training tool.
Full Send Sims will offer fully custom-built rigs and delivered and installed into your own home, and constant online service. What we offer is world-class, top-notch racing, built by a community of racers who enjoy passionate, clean racing.
And back live here from Circuit of the Americas on SimTV and Full Send Sims. SMX Race 2 coming up here in just about 2.5 minutes, Finny. And what did we learn from race number 1? I think we learned that the start of the race is mighty important. We kind of knew that already, though, but those track limits really widen the driver's ability to make moves. But when everyone is given a mile and everyone takes it, I don't know how much of an advantage it really is.
Yeah, really, because essentially that becomes the racing line, effectively. So if everyone's running it, it's not really much of an advantage because everyone's running the same thing. So the key thing, though, I think, is trying to get drivers to make mistakes. When you can get them to do that, that's when you can find that opportunity to make the move, make the pass, and secure it. But we definitely seen a lot of drivers really take advantage of that extra track to use to keep those runs, keep them momentum going. And I mean, with such a momentum-based car, that's really the key to, especially defending. We've seen a lot of guys able to easily get back on the after they get past on the apex, just keep the run on the exit going, keep the foot to the floor, and able to scoot on by.
Yeah, weather not changing much between sessions here. Again, pretty low humidity, it's only 20% out there. A little bit of a breeze out of the northwest won't make much change there, but good to see this track get that art refresh that it had needed for a little while. The 3D curbs and the additional rumble strips in a couple areas of the racetrack, and of course the painting of the off track rather than the turf. It just kind of makes everything look and feel a lot more like it does in real life. I think my first time there was 2020, and it already looked a lot more like this than it did at the laser scan time.
Yeah, not to mention the giant flags they added as well.
Yes, which, to be honest, I had never even seen the flags until this past year because they had been down and out for repair for a couple of years. Yeah, or at least during the events that I was there, they were not flying. But they are big flags. So
yeah, I didn't quite realize that until I was just watching some of the onboards after the refresh and just watching the flag heading up into turn 1, and then the Texas flag through the S, and massive things.
Yep, it's a big flag, and there's a look at it as the timer counts down here in the warm-up. Bob Mueller Jr. we saw out with an incident or down the order a little ways, so he'll try to do a little better here in race number 2. Let's talk the championship situation there with Morgan Burkhardt closing in on Camden Hibbett. From what you've seen, Finian, Morgan and Camden both multi-time champions. Between the two, I'd probably give the slighter edge to Morgan Burkhardt. What does Camden have to do here? Should he worry about beating Morgan, or is it just get up there and not lose so many points?
Well, the key thing, especially because we saw him, he made that mistake early on. I mean, he was set to start 3rd, spent the whole race just trying to get back to even 4th. The key thing, I think, for him, especially in the championship position that he's in, he's got a nice buffer to work with. Lost a couple points, which is fine. Bigger picture is, I think, just try to key goal stay in the top 5. Because if you can get a solid points haul, I mean, between the win is 25 points, and I believe back to 5th, it's about 17, 16 points. So it's not a whole big loss there, but ideally, and especially because we've seen, those concrete walls, we've seen so many drivers get close. One driver hit that wall and retire. And then just obvious other context, and especially more slowdown. The last thing that he needs is a slowdown, especially in the opening lap where he can lose so many spots.
Yeah,
so I think it's just a matter of just keeping him, maybe dial it back just a tiny bit, which I know is almost impossible to tell a driver to do, is to dial it back a little bit.
Yes.
But again, bigger picture, you do not want to wreck. If he wrecks out and Morgan Burkhardt wins the race, that's 25 points of an indent on his championship lead. That's huge.
Yeah, that's a big one. And you're right. Yeah, tell a driver to tone it down. They'll absolutely understand that.
Can understand every crew chief and race engineer in the world just screaming.
It's like telling a cat to stop. They don't care. All right, so there's your starting lineup on the left. Burkhardt, Neal, Manis, Hibbett, your front 2 rows. Now, Camden did make up some ground late in the going there to start once again on row 2, but he was on the inside of row 2 last time and ended up kind of buried with that slowdown early on. So he knows now that slowdown can't happen again. And maybe starting on the outside and allowing him to carry some better speed through that opening corner is probably a better place to be.
Might could be. It also puts you with the chance of getting knocked out. Something happens to some drivers on the inside. Someone decides to be a little bit more heroic than they need to be into turn 1, and you're going to be a potential victim in that. So, I mean, many things can go wrong. I'm sure that's the last thing he wants to think of, but you never quite know. He's just going to have to just head in there, hope for the best, and I think I imagine his goal is going to be trying to get past Manis and Neal as quickly as possible and get to his main rival, Morgan Burkhardt, battle for the lead.
So pace car works its way down through turns 16, 17, and 18 at the carousel, and then 19 and 20, the last 2 turns on the racetrack. 20 minutes go up on the board once again. Remember, your championship leader is the black and red car. Well, they're all black and red at the front, aren't they? The black and red 132. Camden Hibbett. The other more different white and red car, the 67, is now, as of race 1, the runner-up in the championship and trying to close up even further. All right, field's packed up, paired up, waiting for the green flag. And there it goes, green flag, we're underway. The Full Send Sims SMX race 2 of round 12. And I'm really impressed with Colby Jackson and how aggressive he's being on the way outside into turn 1. Look at that big lunge. And we're gonna be 3 wide, maybe 4 for a moment. Burkhardt clears for the lead. Neal, watch this, 4 across as Camden Hibbett surges into second place.
Like I say, you got to watch that merge back onto the racetrack after they all go off the track like that. And so far, so good. Camden Hibbett up to second place, exactly what he needed to do on the start. And now just a matter of focusing, just wait for the tires to warm up a little bit. Be careful through the S's, everyone, and already one driver off.
Yeah. Trouble for Deacon Greenfield, and Colby Jackson was the car that lost all the ground that he had made up previously. Deacon Greenfield is the one that goes for the spin. Now it's Morgan Burkhardt versus Camden Hibbett on the end of lap 1, and this is what we were sort of expecting to see last round. Oh, contact at the front of the field already. Camden gives Morgan a huge shove. That was aggressive. Game on.
Yeah, I guess wasn't expecting maybe Burkhardt to brake where he did. Was expecting to brake later on, but that was a decent hit. You can see how messed up the rear end of Burkhardt's machine is.
Yeah, that might have damaged the nose of the 132 as well. So, again, not a lot of straightaways here to be worried about. Colby Jackson has picked up a black flag. I don't think served the slowdown in time. So, after such a strong start, that'll be catastrophic for him.
And off they go, single file, nose to tail. It's Camden Hibbett now potentially under attack. Carson Neal as they go wide off of turn 19.
Dylan Lee.
Turn 20 to complete lap 1.
Ooh, Dylan Lee and Trace Hance are scrapping right now.
Yeah, Trace Hance, we talked about him a little bit in race number 1. Started 19th, finished in 9th, and he's still in 9th at the end of lap 1, but sky's the limit essentially if you can try to gain a few more spots here.
All the way to the end of the road. One of the things we didn't really talk about, though, you see all these drivers straddling the red and white rumble strips there. I was really blown away when they added 3D curbs here to iRacing, how much they impact your braking performance. When you got a tire on those rumbles and try to brake, the ABS does not like it very much. So you can straddle it, and you see this happen all the time when you watch GT3 racing here, for example. You'll watch drivers straddle that red because it gives you a little extra racetrack, but they won't put their tires on the curbs because they don't want the ABS to get all messed up. So I would be worried a little bit about doing that and losing braking efficiency, but in iRacing, it definitely bothers me too. So we'll see how much. Watch Burkhardt there. He didn't seem to care too much, but he's got a heavier brake foot than basically everyone else in the field.
Now we'll see that gets put to good use as Camden Hibbett's up in the front. He had it pretty easy, Morgan Burkhardt, in race number 1, able to drive away and not really have to think much of second place. But now is a full rear view mirror of his main championship rival in behind him. Carson Neal, Hayden is being Forster, all waiting in the wings for something to happen.
Yeah, see if Camden can keep Morgan reeled in here. He's losing grip just a little bit. And again, Morgan will probably relish in the opportunity to stretch this gap a little bit at a time, but Camden will likely throw in all the effort he can to keep him in sight.
I wonder how much of that is also due to the damage to the nose. And I remember you mentioning that these cars are fairly sensitive to damage on the nose. And, you know, while, again, they're not really going to be slipstreaming off of one another like we've seen in some other tracks, they're still going to be a little bit hurt, especially at the end of the straightaways like this. I imagine he's got to be hurting at the front end of that car.
Yeah,
Whoa.
You know,
almost damaged it more there.
Yeah. Well, certainly I don't think it really seemed to be a couple miles an hour off the top speed, but you don't really reach ultimate top speed here, so it's not helping. But I don't know that it's going to be catastrophic in order, to run down Burkhardt. But Camden is keeping him honest. We saw him there with that lunge into turn 1, but doesn't have Morgan stressing yet. You can tell by the body language of Morgan's car that he's not driving as hard as Camden is right now. He's so good at that little flick to the left, too. He gets right up against that wall, but he's not pinching off his exit. Whoop. And Camden having not the best internet either. Here's Carson Neal trailing in behind.
Yeah, we saw him up on the rear bumper of Burkhardt for the first couple laps of race 1, but slowly fell off the pace and only was able to hang on a second. Now back in third. Starting to see Camden Hibbett catch up a little bit more to Morgan Burkhardt and start to make a couple moves here and there. So should something happen, Neil's in a fantastic spot.
See Camden washing out a little bit more. He's not quite on the line. Really late apex there. And Morgan just using a little more of the racetrack on entry as well. Just interesting to watch these two kind of battle back and forth. Camden, see, just trailing the brakes a little longer, a little later. But this is going to get fun to watch these four, really, because actually 5. Beans Forster's not too far back. And still in the championship hunt if those front 2 start to tangle with each other.
I think that's what he's going to be hoping for. Hayden Manis and Carson Neal seem to have some pretty decent pace. And we saw Forster kind of hit a wall in performance, slowly moving up. Oh, he's also having some internet issue.
Yeah.
The top 6 broken away from the rest of the pack, all within a second and a half of each other. That's really ideally where your winner is going to come from, is these 6 drivers at the front of the order. And I wonder for Hibbett, as he's riding in line here, what's the game plan? Up there it is, big dive into the hairpin.
And it's kind of repeating the playbook from Beans Forster, but it didn't work last time. I don't think it's going to work this time. Oh, it's so close. And here comes Manis, and look at Neal.
Neal decided to take the opportunity, make a move for second place. Burkhardt, very defensive line into the braking zone. Neal trying to get a better exit.
What Camden Hibbett absolutely did not need is people trying to take the spot away from Camden. So, this is playing back into Burkhardt's ability to bring, to break out a fight behind him and force everyone to race each other so that he can go away. All he needs is for Hibbett and Neal to be side by side for 2 or 3 corners, and Burkhardt's gone.
They've somewhat sorted themselves out in pretty much the order they entered in. But I was literally just about to say that what was the game plan for Camden Hibbett? Was it to just kind of stay in line, ride this out, wait for the last couple laps, or catch Burkhardt off guard? That's exactly what we saw right there with that dive out of the essence.
I don't know that you can. I don't think he has enough of an upper hand to wait to the last lap. I think he's just got to take whatever opportunity he can get and hope it sticks. This doesn't seem to be like one of those Daytona races where you can make a pass in the last corner, so you wait. I think you just got to do it. Objections?
No, I don't think so. I just heard Hayden Manis complaining about ABS. Not sure what prompted that.
Yeah, here comes Camden again in turn 1. But again, Morgan will have a little bit more momentum and the preferred lane into turn 2.
He's got to watch Carson Neal. Carson Neal's also got a bit of a run. Will he go anywhere with it? Tries to have a look on the right-hand side, but gets the door slammed shut. And it looked like Beans Forster and Hayden Manis made some minor contact. I think that's what he was alluding to about the ABS.
Yeah, it's not great in these cars. I'll tell you, the braking is not phenomenal. It's not really good at stopping or going, but it is really good at turning. That's Miatas for you.
There's Beans Forster with the dive, and we'll make the move on Hayden Manis.
Bob Muller Jr. again with this contact. Was this not the car that had this in race 1?
It might have been. I heard Sawyer Richards, I think, apologizing.
Yeah, got into him there a little bit.
A little bit of a shove offline.
So Beans and Manis back at it for 4th, and Burkhardt's beginning to grow a lead. It's just 0.4 of a second. It's not as big as it's been. It was up to about 6.5 tenths earlier, but it's on the fringes.
Oh, Beans through the grass and behind, trying to make a move out of the carousel. Goes to the outside of Hayden Manis, tries to keep him poor on the entry, but can't quite get the exit.
Yeah, I think it actually makes it a little harder to do the over-under at 19 with the extra runoff, because if you charge the corner hard, you can just run wide instead of having to pinch off your exit speed to avoid the slowdown. So makes Beans' job a little bit trickier. I mean, we're crossing the start-finish line at only about 106 miles an hour. VMAX in these cars is like 128, so there's quite a bit of meat left on the bone for drafting that we're not getting tonight.
Definitely was thinking about making the move on Hayden Manis into turn 1, but decided it wasn't the best move to make at that time. So backs off of it. He'll stay in 5th. Actually lost a little bit of a time to Carson Neal and company up the road. A little bit of separation compared to these guys running nose to tail just a couple laps ago.
I wonder if Beans learned something from what Camden did here, but I don't know that he was close enough to strike that time through.
Now Hibbett actually looks like he might be losing a little bit of track of Morgan Burkhardt. He's starting to build a little bit of a gap, 0.7 of a second.
Yeah, and once you get past a second, I think the math gets really difficult for Camden to start reeling Morgan back in. Morgan's just in exceptional control of this field tonight, and it really hasn't been in anyone else's possession. I think he's led basically every lap.
And it's just really just a matter of minimizing the mistakes. He's pretty much made none, none that I can really think of or recall. But he's just been setting down solid lap after lap after lap. And the main thing also, too, I think, has been looking after those tires, despite his incredible pace, which is the key thing.
Oh, Burkhardt sliding, and that cost him a bunch of time.
Well, commentator's cursed.
Yeah, but I don't exactly know what set that off. I'd like to go back and see that again.
I think whenever he hooked the curb, maybe?
Oh, he had
the
downshift was a little messy, I think, is what got him the wheels spinning there. And that brings Camden back in. It gives him a little more life. But again, I don't see what Camden's going to be able to do to change this trajectory. Morgan just seems quicker tonight.
You got to pull off some surprise move like what we saw at the end of the S's. So he's got to think of something. But even if he does think of something, if he's not right in behind Burkhardt, it's going to be really hard to pull off that kind of move.
Top 6 still under a second apart from each respective car in line, about 2.8 covering that top 6 from front to rear. There's Beans on Manis again, a lunge at turn 12. Not enough, though.
Yeah, just keep it tight to see if he can keep that overlap, and will not. Tries the switchback, not really. Just gets pinched off by 65 of Manis.
It's just tough to get ahead when, again, when you can run out wide. Oh boy, Manis into the gravel. That'll change hands, but that's really the mistake that you're waiting for. But even with that, Manis is still going to cling, for now, to driver's right.
Yeah, clipped too much of the anti-cut curb, and that caused the car to go sideways, and still trying to hang on, and it looks like Forster will barely clear by the time they hit turn 19.
And Camden is all over Morgan for the lead. And so that's kind of re-spiked the interest in the lead battle for now.
Bumped back to Forster. That put him offline. And it's going to slow him down the straightaway. Now here comes Manis with the run back.
He's going to give Beans a push. I don't know if they're hoping to get back involved with those front 3.
Beans commented, I think he needed a little bit more rotation in the final corner after the little bit of a bump. So
I'll just hit you in the quarter panel next time.
and then Manis commented, yeah, I'll give you a bump down the straightaway.
There you go. Vansel Kemma, Vansel Kemma and Hans, and then Greg Rogers in his second ever race, first night. Watch these two scrap, and I want to go back to the lead because Camden is suspiciously close to Morgan in his favorite spot to dive bomb. Oh, Morgan's in the wall hard.
Yeah, getting that concrete wall, that'll definitely do some damage.
On board.
Just mistimed it, maybe?
He got it with the rear, so I don't think it's going to be, the right front damage that we've seen other cars get, but it's not going to help. James Newell gets by Manis there for P5. That's definitely going to, that could knock the toe out a little bit for Burkhardt and make that car drive a little funky. I'm not sure that it's going to do a lot, but might be able to get a little bit of a glimpse on board. Well, it's turning right and the car's going right, so that's good. It wouldn't always do that.
Yeah, I'm trying to look back, and I can't quite see any particular thing that's caused Burkhardt to slow down a little bit.
Hibbett.
Man, Hibbett's might have picked up the pace of the one a little bit too wide.
Yeah, I think we have found the limit of, watching Hibbett there through 19 of where running wide isn't gaining you time. And you're scrubbing speed to turn the car back down onto the racetrack primarily.
Scrubbing speed and tire. Hibbett is definitely looking to be a little bit faster. And I'm wondering for Burkhardt too, he's realized, with that, usually when you have that kind of uh-oh moment, you may want to reel back yourself just a little bit to make sure you don't damage the car. So that might have messed up Burkhardt's rhythm a little bit as you see side-by-side action into the S's.
Yeah. Manis had to give it back to Newell. But yeah, to your point, once Morgan hits that wall, even if it didn't directly damage anything, it could weaken those parts. That is something that iRacing had added in recent seasons, was sort of sequential damaging of components. So it's not an all or nothing. You can kind of work up to damaging a part. And even if it's not a major change in performance, if it's the slightest little change, it's easy to make that mistake again. We should be coming to 2 laps to go next time by the way.
And Hibbett's within range of throwing a dive, so while the gap looked like it was expanding, it's now slowly closing back in.
Yeah, it's been fluctuating between 2/10 and 5/10. But I think in turn 19, I think we'll go from high above here and just watch the different trajectories. I think that Camden is using a little more track. Now that time it was pretty even, and look how much he gained.
Yeah, he actually kept himself more restrained that time. Slightly better exit through turn 20 as well, so he's definitely getting there when he needs to be.
Yeah, I thought he had missed a shift when I jumped on board, but the car's just quiet. But he was, he was a little bit quicker leaving the corner, but Morgan actually got through the gears a tiny bit better too. That was contributing. Old-fashioned H-pattern gearboxes, and Carson Neal still lingering there if these two get rowdy, and they're right on top of each other with 2 laps to go.
Got a little bit too much air on the apex of turn 1. That slowed him down just a hair, and that's allowed Hibbett to catch back up. And we saw Hibbett big dive into turn 7. Last time by, caught Burkhardt off guard. Will he do the same? We'll see.
I thought he might, but he didn't go for it. You could just sense the understeer in that car. It didn't want to turn.
I think it was maybe trying to see if he can force Burkhardt to almost hit the wall again. Make him make that same mistake. Here he goes, looking out to driver's left and pulls back in line.
See, his heart rate is really high. We don't normally see Camden up in the 130s, but just trying to figure out anything here. I think Morgan's a hair better at this particular section of the racetrack.
Yeah, we have been able to see him get some really, really good runs. Although Hibbett that time, much better run on the exit. And here they come through the carousel.
Burkhardt's been taking
the white flag.
Burkhardt's been eating more of the curb here on the inside. See him way down there. Hibbett a later line, and to your point, we're coming to the white this time through. Oh, again a lunge. That's gonna hurt.
Smart.
Yeah,
that was a smart move by Burkhardt. Kept him off, caught him off guard. He lost a ton of time. Here comes Carson Neal on the back of Hibbett for second place.
That was really clever. He absolutely brake checked him there a little bit going into 19. That just arrested all the momentum. White flag now, 1 lap to go, 1 minute and 17 seconds on the board, and almost an insurmountable gap now, half a second, unless Burkhardt makes a mistake. And he's also backed up Hibbett to Neal, who would like to steal a second.
Oh, Burkhardt a little bit out wide, a little bit tail happy, and here comes Hibbett back with a little bit of a run. You can argue maybe might not be close enough, might be close enough here as they work through the S's.
I think Camden might owe Burkhardt one. I guess Hibbett got into Burkhardt early on, but he might owe him one from that brake check maneuver. So he's a little bit behind in the steering, though. He's not going to be on top of him ready to pounce, and he's going to understeer again, struggling so much. He just can't get it rotated. He bounces off the wall. And how Burkhardt was steering with his feet through there is, I think, why he was so successful tonight. You just watch Hibbett wait on the nose to turn in, and it just never does.
Here they go into the arena section for the final time tonight. Burkhardt, great drive off the corner. Hibbett now gone from offense to defense. He's trying to make sure he finishes in second place.
Yeah, Burkhardt, clever driving. And he's in a pretty safe spot, though. Carson Neal would love to take a swipe.
Neal actually getting awfully close into diving distance here into the final corner. That's going to be his last chance to make a move.
Yeah, I think he's going to sense that he's got a shot for this here. Coming to the checkers, Morgan Burkhardt is going to alley-oop and get a second win, maybe. Hibbett closes in. Neal setting up for corner exit. Oh, he slides, and he's going to lose a spot here to Beans, probably. Beans swings over to the side. He'll grab third place. Morgan Burkhardt wins. 2 for 2 tonight at COTA. Camden Hibbett second. Beans Forster snags the podium, and Carson Neal comes home in fourth after being second in race number 1. James Newell fifth, Manis in sixth. Manis was on the podium in race number 1. Greg Rogers and Wenzel Kemma across the stripe. 50 thousandths between those two. That was fun. Let's go back and have a look at these. Go a little bit further, see how this develops. Wenzel Kemma behind Trace Hance, and then Rogers right here. Look at him setting this up. This is savvy racecraft here.
And he knows, again, you can utilize that extra run to the line. And normally the line would have passed him right there. Got a little bit of extra racing room to work with down the straightaway.
And that was the difference.
Drag race.
Yeah, 29,000.
By nose.
Job well done. And with that, we'll have a quick look here at our session results. We'll chat with our front runners here. Morgan Burkhardt, Camden Hibbett, Beans Forster, Carson Neal, and James Newell Finian, who are front runners.
Yeah, solid job there by all of them. And again, Burkhardt, fantastic job. What a smart move. And I know we don't award a move, the move of the race or anything, but if we did, that would have to be it right there. Caught Hibbett completely off guard, negated any chance of him making a move on the final lap, and put him basically looking at his rearview mirror. Beans Forster able to just rebound to get inside the top 3, getting past Carson Neal, who made a mistake in the final corner. Newell back in 5th with Manis 6th, Doran 7th, Dylan Lee in 8th, Trace Hance, Greg Rogers rounding out your top 10.
Yeah, Greg Rogers stealing that top 10 really late in the session, right up to the line. William Wenzel Kemma lost that battle by 29 thousandths, and Seth Spolman, Friedhofer, Deacon Greenfield, Sawyer Richards, the rest of the top 15, Aziz, Buttermore, Muller Jr. Colby Jackson, strong start, didn't finish his second race in the FSS SMX Series. Camden Hibbett joins us now, second place tonight in race number 2. It was a 4th in race 1. I know it wasn't quite the result you were hoping for, and man, Morgan's really good at driving other people's cars out front there. That little brake maneuver into 19 caught everybody off guard, including us. Take us through your night succinctly. It was an okay night, but not what you really were hoping for, I'm sure. Whoop, I don't have you in Discord here, Camden. I'm not sure if your mic's...
I probably should pull my mic down.
There you go.
Yeah, frustrated. I don't know. I mean, not thrilled with how that ended up going. I think there was definitely some... there was obviously a pace issue for me. I did not have the pace tonight that I needed whatsoever. Morgan was by far much faster, which usually I can say is not necessarily the case. We're usually pretty equal on pace. Tonight was not the case. Yeah, I'm not real sure what happened into 19 or whatever the penultimate corner is. Frustrating. Not thrilled with how that went. I think there's maybe a discussion to be had. I don't know if it was intentional or not, but either way, I mean, I think that was going to be a decent race. But it is what it is. Props to him for doing what he had to do. It sucks, but he's doing his job in terms of trying to get what he can for the points. So can't necessarily fault him for that. Just unfortunate the way it turned out.
Yeah, Camden, unfortunate there for sure, but the momentum is still there with top fives and things. Go back to a more familiar circuit next week, but then we end the season with Chicagoland and Bathurst, so really curious how that will all transpire. Appreciate your time.
Where are we next week?
I think we're back at Sebring next week, full course.
Yeah. Okay, all right, well, that'll be a much more welcome return than something like this, I suppose, but yeah, I mean, obviously Chicago is going to be a toss-up, right? With it being street circuit, who knows what that's going to turn into, and then obviously Bathurst, right? Nobody has any idea what that's going to bring. So Sebring is the last chance to really get a safety net, I guess, or at least build more of the safety net. Chicago and Bathurst is going to be a toss-up, so it'll be a fun end of the season for sure.
Thanks, Cameron. Appreciate your time as always, and we'll see you next week.
Yep.
And when we head to
Sounds
Sebring.
good. Thanks, guys.
Yep. All right, we're going to chat now with Hayden Manis, who was on the podium in race number 1. Race 2 didn't quite go your way, Hayden. P6 there in race number 2, but interesting race tonight. I think Circuit of the Americas, you love it or you hate it. I'm not sure there's a lot of people in between. Where do you stand after a podium tonight?
I am actually one of the people kind of in between. It's a great track to drive, not an amazing track to race. I think the biggest thing about COTA is you want to be on the outside for the start, and you saw that with me in race 1 and the Camden in race 2. As long as you're on the outside, you have a good start, you're able to stay where you are, you're going to have a good race.
Yeah, I mean, it looked interesting. I think just the passing challenges with everyone being able to use the runoff seemed to make things even harder. Did you like having that extra runoff to use, or did you find that it kind of hampered your ability because everyone wasn't avoiding those invisible, walls with the 1Xs that you're used to here?
I personally liked it. I'm definitely a driver who drops the tire off pretty much every single corner. So to have that little extra room is nice, but I don't think it's a big advantage per se. Everybody has the advantage. They're going to take advantage of it. The race car drivers. That's what we do. So, but no, overall, just a great race. Race 1, I just had a great start, drove well, and I was able to stay where I was. And Morgan and Carson both drove great. And then race 2, just rough start, and then it kind of just domino affected from there.
Well, P3 and a P6 tonight, Hayden. Congratulations. 2 top 10s at a podium. Not a bad night. We'll see you at Sebring.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And we'll move on now to Carson Neal, who comes home in 4th in race 2, but had a 2nd in race number 1. Carson, really good pace early on. We thought you might have snuck away pole there in qualifying, too. Really strong efforts. Just couldn't quite snag that win in the first race. What'd you need to go up there and get Morgan tonight?
Just a lot more consistency. I cooked the tires in the first half and then just didn't really have tires for the second half. For qualifying, really messed up turn 1 by, I think, half a tenth, but overall for the whole race we were little bit consistent. Had a little bit of some mistakes, but the 2nd place for the first race and then 4th place for the second. Pretty good overall day.
Yes, seems very solid. When we look at where you are in the season, you were 7th coming into the night. We've got a couple rounds left. What's really the goal for you the next couple of weeks? Is it just to snag some more podiums? Are you shooting for a top 5 in the points? Is there anything specific on the horizon for you?
Looking at the points, I don't think I'll be able to get a top 5, but hopefully if we keep on doing the just snagging a couple more podiums, we might be able to get to a top 5, but just mainly being as consistent we can and being a competitive guy up front for the rest of the remainder of the season.
Carson Neal has a 2nd and a 4th tonight, 2 top 5s and a podium. Carson, thanks so much. We'll see you next week at Sebring.
Thank you.
Thanks. And Beans Forster, he stole a podium right at the end there by not a whole lot, by virtue of a bit of a mistake out in front. Beans 6th in race 1, 3rd in race 2. It was hectic out there. You had some good battles tonight. Take me through it.
Yeah, it's wild. So we were originally going to run regular COTA West, but during our Racecraft Academy on Wednesday last week, we discovered that the turtles and the S's would obliterate the field. and then just send cars flying. So we were like, you know what, let's play the safe move and make it like a better race for everybody. And we swapped it to this, not realizing that track limits basically don't exist. So trying to find the line throughout not having track limits was very, very interesting. And it was kind of weird trying to learn it in the little bit of practice and as you go. But overall, just trying to keep those tires under me was like, I was just battling myself all night. You know, the spots that I thought I could get were almost too optimistic at some points. I tried to keep it as clean as I could. You know, me and James had a little bit of rubbing in the first race. I think a little bit was that maybe some net code or whatever. But yeah, it was just tough, basically battling myself.
Yeah, fun to watch though, Beans. P3 tonight. We're back to a more traditional circuit, one we've been to a million times next week at Sebring. I think there's some drivers that are really looking forward to that. But then we've got some two circuits at the end of the season that are really going to spice things up. Looking forward to Chicago and Bathurst. So thanks for your time, and we'll see you there.
Yeah, thanks, Kyle. Thanks, guys.
Thanks. And we'll bring in Morgan Burkhardt to round out the interviews tonight. Morgan, another sweep of the week here on a Tuesday night. And I'll be honest, Camden gave you a little bit of a run for your money at the end there, but this looked like pretty well and truly in your control. The body language told me that you were pretty comfortable out front. What was the key to figuring this place out with the lack of track limits?
Honestly, just figuring out how much is too much was the big thing for me. I have a little bit of experience with this car in stock cars, which is definitely different, but figuring out just how far you could take it was something that we learned with the trucks when we came here. But yeah, it's this track with the no track limits suits how I like to drive this car a lot, where you can really kind of use it like a motorcycle brake, where you back the car into the corner using the clutch to slip it out while you're turning in, and just slide through the entry and then pick up the throttle, and you can carry a ton of roll speed that way. And that was really my edge. You can't do that at most tracks because the track's not wide enough, but here there's no restrictions to how far is too far. So I really enjoyed it though. It's weird to race. I found out in race 2 on the start that I didn't really have to defend, not because I had a huge pace advantage, but because you can't pass on the inside because there's so much space on the exit of the track that unless you can clear them by the apex, there's really no hope.
Yeah, you know, I think we were watching from Camden's on board just the last run through that cut through, and it seemed like you just had so much more rotation through that part of the racetrack. Everyone else was kind of waiting on the nose, so it just seemed like whatever advantage you had there, whether it was that clutch trick or otherwise, it just seemed to really play off well here. But we go back to sort of a standard course at Sebring next week, and then we finish with Bathurst at the season finale, and right before that, the Chicago street course. Are there any parallels you can draw from this track to maybe a place like Chicago?
Unfortunately, no. This track is with its no track limits. There's so many things that you can do here that you're really landlocked, quite literally, at Chicago. So that one's going to be interesting. I think that's going to be more of a just try and survive more than anything else with how bumpy that track is. Same thing at Bathurst. There's so many places it can go horribly wrong in a split second at Bathurst. So looking big picture at the championship, we're 4 wins down, 6 to go. Which is kind of wild, and I'm surprised I've gotten this far. But Sebring next week is going to be interesting. There's a lot of opportunity for a lot of different people there. We should have a bigger grid next week as well, so we'll see. Fingers crossed. We got the gap is down to 50 points, which in 3 rounds is steep. It's a steep climb, but all it takes is one bad race for Camden, so we'll see.
We'll see, Morgan. Thanks so much for your time as always. Congrats on the 2 wins. We'll see you at Sebring.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right, Finian, wrapping things up here quickly. Fun night. I mean, something a little different. Of course, I think there's a lot of drivers that probably are feeling a little confused. But Sebring's home turf next week. Looking forward to getting back on the 3.7-mile course in Central Florida.
Yeah, something a little bit more familiar for these drivers, especially with the long straightaways, to use the slipstream to its advantage and make more of the traditional passes and racing we see in MX-5s. But yeah, some fantastic stuff here from COTA. Great racecraft from Morgan Burkhardt, made it look easy out there. A little bit of a dent too in the championship as well in his fight against Camden Tippett, so best of luck to him over these final 2 races.
Thanks to the partners and people that make it all happen. Sunbelt Wine Country Motorsports, Final Turn, 3P Logistics, FARA, and Full Send Sims. We'll see you next week from Sebring.